All right. This is Kat with Agency Zoom. Excited for our agency of the month, Rob Bowen with Patriotic Insurance in Chester, not Westchester, Chester, New York, correct?
That's correct, Kat. Yes.
And all right. I'm going to say this in the context that you're never too small of an area or in somewhere that you can't be successful. You guys have less than like 20,000 people in your town, correct? I'm not a loon.
Chester, I think, has like 3,000 in the town. There's like 330,000 in all of Orange County,
Okay.
which is
So
entire.
your county is big enough, but your town, you guys are truly the hometown heroes, the it boys of the whole place, right?
Yeah, that is correct. Yep. It's a very, most of the towns up here are very small towns.
Okay. And you guys, and tell me if this is intruding into the wrong area, but you guys had been in your community for years before being Patriotic Insurance, correct?
That is correct. Yep.
So you've done the whole transition. I'm sure plenty of our listeners are sitting there saying, oh yeah, I was captive too. And they're either afraid to take the leap or right now they're in that first stage of how miserable the leap can be.
That is true. It's an exciting leap, but the grass isn't always greener on the other side. There's a lot of other issues you need to deal with. So, but I'm glad I did it, and we're moving along, and I'm very excited where we're at right now.
Sure. Amongst all those moving parts too, of now you're independent, you have a lot more additional responsibilities, also freedom to do the things that you like to do. You guys have done a couple things really well, and they honestly marry together. One, Rob has done a phenomenal job supporting veterans. So as we, approach 4th of July here, and we're all going to enjoy peaceful barbecues, visiting with our families. One, Rob has served and has continued to serve his country by supporting fellow veterans. And that's how I first, I don't want to say learned of you, Rob, but it's how Rob's name stuck in my mind. If any of you guys talk to me at the end of the day, my brain gets kind of oatmeal-like.
I think that's true for all of us.
Yeah. Rob's name stuck because he has been supporting your primary charity that you guys work with is Suits for Soldiers, correct?
That's correct. Yep.
Can you tell the group a little bit about this? I'm hoping post-COVID, where some of us maybe let our waistbands out, continue to let it out. You may or may not be able to button your jeans if you're anything like me. I'm hoping that amongst, the current ecosystem of things that have changed and 4th of July, that hopefully Suits for Soldiers can get some good PR as well from this. So Rob, do you want to share a little bit about that project and how involved you guys are as a team?
Sure. The Suits for Soldiers project is basically run out of my office. What I do is collect interview clothes for men and women veterans to help in the transition from the military to the civilian world. The suits get sent to an organization called Save a Suit out of Bethel, Connecticut, at saveasuit.org. They actually collect the suits. They will do job fairs. They've been doing virtual job fairs pre-COVID. They did in-person job fairs. And the suit becomes a symbol of the veteran getting out of the military. But the best part is when you run a job fair, you can bring other resources. So now Save a Suit can dress all the, and I keep saying kids because they're the same age as my kids. They gives them a chance to get dressed correctly, but they can also bring other resources to them, whether that's LinkedIn help, whether it's resume writing, whether it's mental health. So the suit becomes very powerful. So what we do in my office is we collect the suits, and about every 2 or 3 months when my back office gets filled, literally filled to the top, they send a cargo van down that we fill up. And it's a great organization. We've been doing it for 5 years. At my prior captive, they started this program on Veterans Day. And since you and I are both kind of in the marketing game, you'll appreciate this. So I had someone come in and do a quick interview, put the fact I was collecting suits in a local newspaper. No social media, a local physical newspaper. We collected 1,600 suits in 5 weeks.
Wow, that's exceptional.
If I could market my business or you could market yours, I was getting 30 suits a day. The problem was we had no place to send them. They hadn't thought about the distribution side.
Very
So we sent them to McGuire, and then I met Scott Sokolaski at Save a Suit. So we've been doing this probably like 5 years now. Collected, I don't even know, 10, 15,000 suit at least. Button downs, the Rotarians around here, the Kiwanis clubs, all the, these wonderful organizations that do great things in our community, they'll do suit drives for me. American Legions do suit drives for me. I've had, and I've done that circuit. I'll go do the circuit once a year. I haven't done it since COVID hit, but I'll go out and it's an ask.
right.
Hey, like you said in the beginning, does anyone have a bunch of suits in their closet that don't fit, whether they're too big or too small? And it's an easy sell. I have also had companies donate. Today's Man's donated. I had Naturalizer, which is a women's shoe store.
I've heard of them. Yes.
That was new for me. I had a woman call and say, I have 85 pairs of shoes. Would you like them?
That's lovely.
It
Those are
was
comfy shoes too. If you're
apparently they are.
great.
Well, I have a woman that works with me in my office, and I looked at her and said, "Naturalized shoes?" She goes, "Oh, they're really good." I'm like, "Okay, I had no idea." And so she literally delivered 85 pairs of shoes in boxes, brand new, with the bags. So
That's exceptional. Well, we're really excited too. We've let our employees know that we're going to actually do a suit buyback from them.
Thank you.
We're going to give them $50 to their new suit if they bring a suit in. And then, Rob, I can't promise you a cargo truck because we're pretty small still.
No, that's fine. That's fine.
But I'm hoping to get some nice suits. We have some gentlemen that were, college athletes that they were well dressed, but they're actually probably on that spectrum, the other side that you hit, that they've maybe got a little smaller since not being in the gym every day. So we're really excited to be able to do that. And you mentioned Naturalizer and women's footwear. They'll accept shoes, they'll accept women's work attire too?
Yes. Yeah. So it's men and women. And it's really anything, if you don't mind, the best way to describe this, and I'll use myself as an example. When I was in the military, I had what I'll call play clothes. You had t-shirts and shorts and stuff like that. And you had your military uniform, which you wore every day. They told you every day what to wear. What you don't have is, I didn't have a pair of khakis. I had no button downs. I had nothing for an interview. That's why this is important. So any kind of interview clothes, belts, shoes, socks, ties. Honestly, I've had people bring in, shorts and t-shirts. I mean, that's not what we're looking for, but if someone actually brings it to my office, I have access to homeless veterans. So locally, I will do that. Sure. If people are going to be mailing them, we're looking for interview clothes, because you could be dressed like I am with just a golf shirt on for an interview, or you can be in a suit. It depends on what job you're going for. So,
sure.
It's called Suit for Soldiers, but it's any kind of interview clothes for men and women.
Okay, that's wonderful. That's very good to know. I have quite a few nice dresses that I would not say are a suit, but are a business dress that
would be perfect.
For some reason, they just don't fit post-COVID. To get them in good hands. I think there's a greater good to this too, and I love that you guys spend so much time, and you already touched on it, that it's helping them not only get the physical appearance ready, but also helping them prepare for the civilian workforce, because obviously we know a lot of veterans do a fantastic job. They they get back to their community, they assimilate again, and they get into the workforce, and they're absolute rock stars. But then some have struggled, through their service and need a little bit more help. And then some of them just need to make new connections. I think that's something, until I got to know more of the servicemen and women, I didn't realize how often they land stateside, and we just think like, oh, well, you're home. And they're still 500 miles away from where they ever grew up, on the opposite coast. That I grew up in Dayton, Ohio, and, I went to Wright Pat, and then suddenly I'm in Southern California, and even family, friends, you name it, anyone is no longer there. So talk maybe a little bit more too about how you've seen them help prep, how you've seen some of the veterans that you've worked with even get into their companies and such, some of the things that you encourage people to talk to veterans about. I love to see them getting back, and I don't want to say normal, because military service is certainly not abnormal, but seeing them be 30 years old and like stationary and comfortable and not moving constantly, that's really rewarding.
Yeah. I think the best way to answer that question is most veterans want to be a productive member of society. And obviously with everything that's going on in the world, some do come back with issues. So we provide those services too, whether it's PTSD, whether it's a physical disability. I think the biggest struggle is, look at a lot of the veterans. A lot of the people join when they're 18, so they come out of high school. They're now 22. They're more mature, but they've never had I'll call it a real job. They've never interviewed. They've never really had to, and they've spent 4 years being fed, being told, what to wear, and they have got a lot of camaraderie among your fellow active duty military. All that goes away in the blink of an eye. Like one day, boom. Now they have transition assistance programs. When I was in, it was literally have a nice day without the gold
Get off
watch.
the bus and you're back home.
You're done, and they PCS you back to your house. But a lot of times the struggle really is, okay, what did you do in the military, and how do you translate that to the civilian world? So we're trying very hard to let large companies know, let other companies know, you can hire for the soft skills, whether it's leadership, whether it's organization, whether a lot of terms that are used around the military. But, it's just the vets don't know how to find a job. I mean, 4 years ago is very different. There's probably more resumes. Now it's, LinkedIn's probably the way to go.
Mm-hmm.
They probably don't even have a LinkedIn account.
Right.
They have a Facebook account. So we have LinkedIn experts that will, here's how you set up your LinkedIn account. I mean, it's not even about the marketing that we all do on LinkedIn and all that stuff. Right. Just here's where you put your picture.
Yeah.
Here's what you put these words on your resume. And then it's really about connecting them with job services or big companies. And that's part of what I try to do is, I talked to a gentleman today who he wants to hire vets. Like everybody I network with that's a business, I'm like, you want to hire vets? No one said no to me yet. I'm like, good, send me your job descriptions. I'll send them out through my network. Might not work, might work, but at least now the resources, there's a lot of state and federal resources that are trying to connect veterans to companies. Now I can send them all these job postings. And that's really the struggle. Is how do you connect all these people and get them back into the civilian workforce?
Sure. So you mentioned a few. One, you're obviously an amazing resource, but not everybody can pass through Rob's more than capable hands. So that's difficult. But do you think there's things like posting your jobs as a small business on Facebook? Like you said, they're more likely to have a Facebook page than a LinkedIn yet. Mm-hmm. Or talking about bringing them into the office where they see camaraderie displayed and then they feel more at ease during this first interview. Do you feel like there's demonstrable actions that agencies can take and even other small businesses can take to better connect and then get those barriers down, build better comfort with their veterans?
I think so. I think you have a good point. I've never really thought about the question you just asked, because a lot of it is they don't have that, I'll call it civilian experience. It's like when you see two veterans talking about what they did, no one else in the room knows what they're talking about.
Right.
and that's the problem. That's a huge problem, because how do you translate that into, but I think, some of it's just, for me, it's simple. You're going to get someone that knows how to show up on time. Mm-hmm. That's an issue today. Let's be honest. Yep. That's not an issue with a veteran. If you're not 15 minutes early, you're late.
Yep.
And that's just the way it is. And, so you're going to get a lot of the soft skills. And I think most veterans are trainable. They're coachable. Mm-hmm. They joined the military, whatever branch they joined, they didn't know anything. And then all of a sudden in a year or two, they're doing whatever they're doing and they're being trusted. You get a lot of responsibility as a young person in the military. That's something right there. They'll take on that responsibility. And the other side too, is that veteran can connect with other veterans. And when I say this, this is not to say sometimes people think when I say this that I'm arrogant, and it's not about being arrogant. Veterans will talk to veterans.
Yep.
Right. And so now you have that network. If you want to look at it from pure business perspective, now he or she's part of the American Legion. They're part of an organization that I'm part of. You're now around. So now you're putting that person in other small businesses everyone needs insurance, right? Mm-hmm. So now you're putting them, I don't do it to get business. I don't keep track of who gives me suits. I don't send them any marketing. I purposely just avoid that. But I've had people walk in. I mean, I've had one guy walked in 3 times with his suits. He was a retired district attorney. He had like 75 suits. They were beautiful. He's like, I'm retired. I'm going to Florida. And he came in 3 times with the suits. And the third time he was walking out of my office and he goes, are you ever going to quote my insurance? I said, no. He goes, what do you mean? I said, that's not why I'm doing this. He goes, well, will you? I said, I will, but I'm not going to ask you. I mean, it was a very silly conversation with him, but I think, you can have those, and back to the point is that you now have someone that can speak that language.
You you hit the nail on the head there, and I asked about the comfort because I had some exposure as a young person to veterans, but not a lot. I grew up on a farm, so I'm a dirty, rotten, barefoot hellion. But I was very fortunate to marry into a military family. My husband had hardly come to America because his father had been stationed around the world, before he was in high school. And now I watch my father-in-law, and you see him interact with another veteran, and there's so much more comfort. You see the things that, whether it's community events, like you said, that he just goes to for seeking that comfort and camaraderie still, and that friendship. And I love that, Rob, a huge portion of why we picked you, beyond your obviously agency daily operations, is because of exactly what you just said. You see them interact, and they've already given such a huge sacrifice. They don't ask anything else of each other. He gets up and he asks the other gentleman, can I get you a beverage? It's not, hey, could you give me a water while you're up? He asks the other guy. It's not, what could I, well, let me get your business. No, like, I would like to give you my business. They are just an extremely giving, like, it seems almost ironic, but like peaceful community. Like, they come back and they've already done and given so much. There aren't expectations there. They're just willing to help for the greater good of each other. So yes, it's no surprise. It's part of, I'm sure, an underlying reason of many that you were chosen. But the fact that you didn't even ask that man donating his suits about his insurance after multiple visits is no surprise to me, Rob, and probably no surprise to anyone else who has met you, and many veterans, I'm sure, too.
Thank you. Yeah, it's and you're right. Veterans just want to help each other, want to help the community, and they will always be at those community events. That's just the way it works. And you'll see we call them the old guys, the Vietnam guys, the Korea guys, with their hats on.
Yeah.
And I always say, thank them. Some of them don't want to be thanked, but thank them, or buy them a meal.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite pastimes, is buying a meal and not letting the military person, usually it's active duty, not letting them know who paid for it.
Yeah.
I've done that a couple of times in airports. Just walk up to the waitress or waiter and say, because they are serving this country. My son just got out. My daughter-in-law is still active duty Navy. We're all Navy in my family, so there's young kids out there allowing us to live this life, and you got to remember that. I mean, it's not. Some people make it sounds a little corny, but it's not. I mean, this is July 4th. This is our Independence Day. There's Veterans Day. There's Flag Day. There's days to remember. Memorial Day. There's days to remember. Take a little time to think about it. Thank someone. Do something nice for your community. It doesn't matter what you do, but we can all make a big difference if we all want to help.
I 100% agree. And I think the ones that you get the most, let's call it flack for, about, oh, that's corny or that's this or that, it's probably the ones that have the most to be grateful for, to have such a annoying, petty opinion. Like, the reason you can openly display this obnoxious opinion
well,
the fact that we have, a lot of freedom in this country. And there's obviously veterans that follow the whole spectrum too. So I think that's something that's worth calling out, that the more and more veterans we have, the broader and broader skill sets they have, you're going to have some really nerdy liberal veterans. You're going to have some really staunch, diligent, conservative veterans. So I think we've got to a place now that hopefully in a more global community, a more open community, that we're starting to see the diversity of veterans, and that it's not just one person, it's not a guy in uniform. It's not a woman that's doing something, administrative. There's a great spectrum of exceptional, young people, and even people that have made careers of it. So.
Yep. And I always, you brought it up before, but, women are a relatively new addition to the military in combat. I mean, I was on a carrier in 1990, and we were the first carrier to have women aboard. That was 1990. Now, fully integrated, everything, and that's the way it should be. I think 100%. Everyone has a different skill set. Men and women are different. That's just the way it is, and they do bring different skill sets. So the more diversity we have, the better. I think the machine, the military machine, and a company too. The military is just a large bureaucracy, is what it is. An
You
important
said it,
bureaucracy.
not me, Rob. You
Yeah.
said
Oh, it is. Oh, trust me. When you try to get something done, we're either really good at it, or we had a lot of backdoor ways to get things done, quickly. But it's a bureaucracy for a reason.
Mhm.
You have to be methodical about it. And
Absolutely.
but yeah, that diversity I think is critical. And like I said before, these are young kids, and they're serving this country. They gave them a blank check, and I think we can help a little bit, whatever that may be. And I will throw it out there. If anyone has ideas or has thoughts, give me a call. I'm more than happy to talk about it. More than happy to connect anybody to anyone I know, and see what we can do for these vets.
I love it. Rob, thank you so much for being our agency of the month. Thank you so much for everything you're doing for the veterans, for your own service. I know you said it's been a few years removed, but it's still
Yeah.
very recent history. And obviously, you brought up wonderful children too, that your son has just finished his service. So thank you so much for everything you've constantly done, and your service. And everybody, again, Rob, they are welcome to send you suits. Do you want them to go ahead and send them directly to the source so that your office doesn't get so cluttered? I know you handle a lot.
Yeah, no, if you do a suit drive and want to, and depend on your location. Again, I'm in upstate New York. Well, I'm just north of Manhattan. Upstate New York means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. So if you've got to do a collection, let me know. Shoot me an email or give me a call, and I'll give you the address to Save a Suit in Connecticut. We can just ship them right there.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much, Rob. Thank you to all the agencies that have been listening, and enjoy your 4th of July. After you finish your 4th of July, you probably have the day off on Monday. Clean out your closets. Enjoy
Thank
your
you.
hot dogs and hamburgers, and then clean out your closets for Rob and the veterans.
Thanks, Kat. I appreciate it.
Yep, thank you.